Glory to God in the highest heaven, and peace to men and women who enjoy his favor. The first Christmas happened at a time of much conflict, inequalities, and oppression. Larger countries, superpowers, occupied and colonized smaller nation states. The world economic system, with all its inequalities, produced the haves and the have-nots, thus widening the gap between the rich and the poor. Greed, selfishness, and lack of respect for the human reduced persons to objects of desire and commodities to be bought and sold. If this short description of the world at the birth of Jesus of Nazareth sounds and looks familiar, it is because this is the world that we have made for ourselves to inhabit in 2022. Wars, conflict, and violence are part of everyday living for much of the world's population today. Refugees and asylum seekers are a given reality in our world. As persons who are victims of unjust wars and oppressive and authoritarian regimes seek a better and more humane life. Human trafficking and domestic violence continue to be a scourge on our way of life. The world economic order has not changed much. If anything, it has become more sophisticated as it feeds on greed, selfishness, and a power that is manipulative and disrespectful to the human person and the environment. The birth of Jesus of Nazareth into this world, our first Christmas Day, is the definitive act of God on behalf of his creation. St. Paul writes in his letter to the Philippians, and I quote, "Though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men." End of quote. And that's from Philippians chapter 2, verse 6. At the heart of the incarnation, God becoming man, is this emptying of God, of all that is divine, in order to become human, and in so doing, refocusing and redirecting humanity and the created order so that it may attain its purpose, to live in communion with God. The mission of the God-man, Jesus of Nazareth, was to empower humanity to choose a different path that would lead to fullness of life in God. As Jesus himself says, "I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly." John 10:10. Thus, Jesus invited disciples to follow him by committing their lives to living the way of love. In John chapter 13, verse 34, Jesus says, "A new commandment I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another." When we choose to live the way of Jesus, change comes about. Forgiveness becomes possible. Hate is turned to love. Kindness and care replaces indifference and intolerance. Greed and selfishness gives way to concern, gentleness, and compassion. Diversity and difference are no longer means for division and disunity, but rather grows a unity that is beautiful. The abuse and destruction of the creation, our common home, gives way to living in harmony and respect for it. And we begin to see the face of God in every sister and brother and in the whole created order. As the prophet Isaiah prophesied, they do no hurt, no harm on all my holy mountain. For the country is filled with the knowledge of the Lord as the waters swell the sea. Isaiah 11 verse 9. As we approach Christmas 2022 and prepare to proclaim once more the story of Christmas, we can ask ourselves what has changed since we last did so. Our island home, Jamaica, is still battling with crime and violence, very often inflicted on innocent women and children. Our homes and communities, once seen and experienced as sanctuaries and schools of love, where all were nurtured and taught the way of love, are being experienced as places of abuse and violence. Dishonesty, half-truths, and lies, lack of integrity and accountability, especially in public life, disrespect and lack of value for life in all its expressions are but some of the negatives that our people encounter every day. And so I ask again, what has changed since last year Christmas? Christmas 2022 can then be a moment of reflection, discernment, and commitment to realign our vision for a different world. Let us become signs of hope amid the darkness of despair, and a light that proclaims a new day has dawned. Let us reclaim our humanity made in the image and likeness of God, our dignity as children of God. Let us reclaim our families and communities, living in fear by embracing every sister and brother in this land with a love that is true. Let us commit to live the way of peace that is founded on justice and expressed in the way of love as Jesus taught us. I take this opportunity to wish you and your families a holy and spirit-filled Christmas and a new year that is lived in expectation of the fulfillment of the promise of redemption. You will be remembered in my Christmas masses. With every good wish and prayers, God bless you.